Yo, what is up, YouTube? Back with another video. Today, I'm going to be predicting the outcome of every game in the Week 1 schedule of the 2020 NFL season. So the season, it starts. It's supposed to start on September 10th. That is when the first game is supposed to be played. But it looks like it should be played on that day, but at the same time, you never know. The NFL could be postponed because of the coronavirus. I think that's the smart thing to do, honestly. Even though I'm a huge NFL fan, I honestly think postponing the season for a month or two and getting their, act together is the smartest thing to do. But it looks like the NFL is rushing into it. One player, Odell Beckham Jr., actually said that he believes that the NFL is doing this because of their greediness and they want to make money. And they're treating NFL players like toys or something, like they don't matter. They're just parts of their scheme to make money. And I honestly agree with him. I think even though during the NFL offseason, I cannot wait for the season to start. I honestly think the smartest thing to do is, hold up. So don't be surprised if it does, but at the same time, the NFL season is starting. On September 10th, Thursday Night Football in Week 1, the first game is played. 8:20 p.m. Thursday Night Football, Houston Texans at the Kansas City Chiefs. So obviously this is going to be a good game because this was actually the playoff divisional rounds matchup where the Kansas City Chiefs hosted the Houston Texans, and we all know the outcome of that game. And I think the NFL put this Week 1 because it showed that the Texans were flaming hot in the playoffs and they could have won that game, but they choked. And, it's just a good game to watch. It was the last game of the Texans season, and it's going to be the first game of their season to start with. So, obviously, I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win this game. Start the season 1-0. It's a home game for them. It's a rematch for the Texans. I wouldn't be surprised if they, were really fired up in this matchup. But at the same time, you already know the Texans did lose DeAndre Hopkins. That is one of the best players in the NFL. And in my opinion, that is the equivalent of the Steelers losing Antonio Brown. And only for that reason, I don't think the Texans can compete offensively in this game. And you already know the Chiefs' offense is just fired up anyway. If the Texans still had the Hopkins, it wouldn't even be a fair fight. Kansas City Chiefs should easily win this game. So that is the first game of the season, Thursday Night Football. There's a thing I like to consider that there's actually no preseason games played up until this point. This is the first game for every team against another team in the NFL season. So take that into consideration. If teams are playing bad, that's probably why, but it's whatever. So let's go to the 1 o'clock games on Sunday, September 13th. So like I said, all of these are 1 o'clock games, and the first one I want to talk about is the Las Vegas Raiders on the road against the Carolina Panthers. So let's talk about the Panthers a little bit. They have one of the best players in the NFL. If the NFL MVP award wasn't given to a quarterback every season, Christian McCaffrey could definitely win this award this season. And he's had over 3,000 rushing yards. At the same time, has had 1,000 receiving yards. So he's a double threat on the field. He's a carry for this team. Last year, the Carolina Panthers started Kyle Allen the whole season, besides the first 2 weeks, because Cam Newton was just playing like trash and he got injured. Kyle Allen was not the solution, and he was given to the Redskins, or the Washington football team, I should say. And they got Teddy Bridgewater. I guess you can say that's an upgrade. DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel and Robbie Anderson, the wide receiver group is decent, not the best, but it's decently good. But besides that, as you can see, this offense, it has talent, and it could be successful. But at the same time, this defense is irrelevant. And that's why the Las Vegas Raiders are going to win this game. So the Las Vegas Raiders debatably have a better offense than the Carolina Panthers. We don't know if Derek Carr or Mariota is starting at QB, but whichever one starts Week 1, I believe will win. But at the same time, they do have a really good tight end in Oakland or Las Vegas. They have Darren Waller, top 5 tight end in the NFL. Josh Jacobs was a rookie last season. He's showing that he could be an elite running back. And this team's offense, they got Nelson Aguilar, I believe, Tyrell Williams. And as you can see, this offense is pretty good. It can win them games. It can score high. and their defense is definitely better than the Panthers, which is why I believe the Raiders will go on the road and win Week 1. So, the next game that's played at 1 o'clock is Philly at Washington football team. Yes, the Washington football team. So the Eagles are playing against the Redskins. I don't want to even say it. It's such a stupid name. The football team, really. But still, the Philly's playing against them. I think the football team is one of the worst teams in the NFL, and it will continue to be until they get better draft picks. Obviously, got Chase Young. I think this defense is decent. Their defense is going to be good, but not the best. I say top 20 in the NFL, nothing lower. But their offense, it's so bad. Not even funny. It does good against bad defenses because Dwayne Haskins has those good games, bad games. Terry McLaurin, pretty good. Adrian Peterson, he's old, but he's pretty good. But at the same time, the football team is so bad. It doesn't even matter. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to win this game. Yes, the Philadelphia Eagles. So the next game played is the Seahawks on the road against the Falcons. So many of you guys have watched my Atlanta Falcons prediction video, and many of you hated it because the Falcons are going to be trash next year. You can't convince me otherwise. Their quarterback's old and washed up. Julio Jones is the only good player on that team. You think Todd Gurley's good? Look at the injury. Look at his stats from 2019. It's embarrassing. Don't think your Falcons team's going to be good. You lost one of the best tight ends in the NFL, Austin Hooper, because he was so embarrassed to play in Atlanta. Your defense isn't too bad, but at the same time, this team is not good. Once again, they're playing the Seahawks, who I think is going to be one of the best teams in the NFL next year. They got Jamal Adams. They debatably could have Davion Clowney Week 1 with the number 2 player in the NFL, quotation marks around that, Russell Wilson on your team. Come on now, number 2. Mahomes is number 1, first of all. But number 2, I'm not saying Russell Wilson's bad, I'm just saying Mahomes is better. But Russell Wilson, Tyler Lockett, Chris Carson, DK Metcalf, the Atlanta Falcons are no match for the Seattle Seahawks, even though it's in Atlanta. The Seahawks should easily win this game. So the next game of the season is the New York Jets at the Buffalo Bills. So obviously the Bills are going to be a top team, and they got Stephon Diggs. They'll make the offense even better. They have a top defense. No doubt about it. The Bills should easily win this game. Don't even talk trash if you disagree. The New York Jets, I thought they were going to be an average team, around 8-8, 7-9. But they lost Jamal Adams, and they didn't really get anything good in return until next season and the season after that with draft picks. So the Jets should stink this season. They should easily lose this game. The Bills are going to start 1-0. Yeah, so the next team we have to talk about are the Colts and the Jaguars. I don't think the Colts are going to be as good as you think they are, but the Jaguars are going to be so embarrassingly bad. They don't have a team there. Their offense is basically embarrassing, but their defense, they lost every good player they had to trade or to leaving because they just wanted out of Jacksonville, a toxic organization. Even though I don't think the Colts are going to be as good as many people think they are, I think the Colts should win this game in Jacksonville. Even though it's in Jacksonville, the Colts are better. Now, Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be absolute and an embarrassing team next season. I bet a college football team could beat them. Okay, so the next game is going to be a decent one. It's the Chicago Bears at the Detroit Lions. So, I believe the NFC North is up to grabs. Any team in this division, including the Packers and the Vikings, Bears, Lions, I think any team could win their division. It's going to be a throw-up. Any team could win on the road against the other, but it's usually the home team that wins this matchup in the NFC North. So that's why I'm going to have to give it to the Lions. I think the Lions could be playoff contenders with Matt Stafford back. Kenny Golladay, pretty good wide receiver for them. Their defense, they lost Darius Slay, but they drafted Jeff Okudah. So there virtually is no problem there. The Bears, Mitchell Trubisky or Nick Foles, that's the deciding factor. I think either or, whoever you pick in that situation is going to lose week 1. But at the same time, I think Nick Foles is the better QB to start the whole entire season. And I do think both of these teams have bright futures, but Detroit's winning week 1 because it's at home. That's the only reason why. So the next game of the season, the Dolphins at the Patriots. I would not, and you will not be surprised if the Dolphins won this game week 1, even though it's in New England. And I only say this because they beat the Patriots last year in New England week 17, and that was the most recent game that the Dolphins played, and it was the second to most recent game the Patriots played. And they basically have the same Miami team, besides their defense got better. They got Byron Jones from the Cowboys, and they drafted Tua, but I think Fitzpatrick is going to start week 1 for the Dolphins. Don't be surprised if the Dolphins win this game. But it's in New England. I sadly picked the Patriots to win this game a while back. I can't change my mind over that. But the future looks bright for the Dolphins. The Patriots got Cam Newton. Just gives me even more reason to pick them in this game. But don't be surprised if the Dolphins win. Same time though, Patriots probably should win week 1 against the Dolphins. Alright, the next game at 1 o'clock is the Browns at the Ravens. So, many of you think the Browns have a future. Come on, stop joking around. Many people think the Browns are favored to win. Really? I mean, I know people say Baker plays good against the Ravens, but really? Yeah, so I think the Browns, with their 6-10 record last season, don't have a shot of winning against the 14-2 Ravens. Funny joke. The Ravens should easily take this win. And the last game played at 1 o'clock. Another NFC North matchup, the Packers at the Vikings. So like I said, the NFC North always has pretty good rivalries. And it looks like the Packers are going to play on the road week 1. The Packers had a pretty good season last year, and so did the Vikings, which is why I think the home team is going to win this matchup in every situation this season, which is why the Vikings are going to win against the Packers. I think the Vikings have, they lost their offensive coordinator to the Browns as their head coach, but at the same time, they were lighting it up. Shouldn't really be a problem. The Packers were way overrated last season, and they only had a good record because their schedule was so easy. Same time, Vikings, they beat good teams. I believe they drafted Jefferson, and that was a pretty good draft pick for a wide receiver since they lost Stephon Diggs. So he could fill in the gap there. And you never know, the Vikings defense could be a little bit worse. Still, I'm picking Minnesota to win week 1. So, pretty interesting matchup. That concludes all the week 1 1 o'clock games. But let's go to the 4 o'clock or 4:25 games. But the Los Angeles Chargers play on the road against the Cincinnati Bengals week 1 at 4:05 p.m. So, do you think the Chargers are going to win this game? I mean, funny joke if you do. Because Justin Herbert is probably the worst draft pick I've ever seen in my life. He's definitely going to start week 1 unless Tyrod Taylor beats him out. So, it doesn't even matter who's starting week 1. The Bengals are way underrated. I'm not saying they're playoff contenders. I'm not saying they're good. But last season was probably the worst the Bengals ever played because of their injuries. AJ Green was out the whole season. Andy Dalton was having a bad season. They had a new head coach. Marvin Lewis left. Come on. The Bengals have the talents. They got Joe Mixon, AJ Green, Joe Burrow. Their offense looking not that bad, pretty decent. This game's at home for the Bengals, and it's the Chargers' first road game of the season. It's the first competition of the year. The Chargers, they lost Melvin Gordon. They only have Keenan Allen. Austin Eckler's not good. If Tyrod Taylor starts, I could see this team winning. Maybe. But at the same time, I think the Cincinnati Bengals are actually going to get the win week 1. So, following a game at 4:25 p.m., really good game. The Buccaneers, Tom Brady's Buccaneers, against the New Orleans Saints. But this game's in New Orleans. It's very unfortunate that the NFL put this game week 1 because it's a home game for the Saints. And it does not show that the Saints are better than the Buccaneers. It gives them a unfair advantage, and no one likes to see that. But at the same time, the Buccaneers could definitely challenge the Saints in this game. Two of the most stacked offenses in the league. Tom Brady, Gronkowski, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. They got LaShawn McCoy. This team is stacked. You can't deny that. But we look at the Saints. They Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, Taysom Hill, Emmanuel Sanders, Jared Cook. Oh my gosh, Alvin Kamara. Both of these offenses are stacked. Which is why I'm going to have to look at the defenses, where obviously we do have Shaquille Barrett, which is pretty good. He's a sack monster for the Buccaneers. But the Saints defense does have a stronger, I guess you can say, secondary than the Buccaneers. They have Cam Jordan on defense. I think the Saints defense is a little better. Tom Brady is definitely a smart player. He could definitely lead the Buccaneers to a win week 1. Wouldn't be surprised if he did. But this game is in New Orleans, which is why I think the Saints are going to get the week 1 win against the Buccaneers. So the following game at 4:25 are the Cardinals at the 49ers. So the Cardinals, they're looking new, they're looking good. Kyler Murray could be the next, MVP, the underrated Lamar Jackson type of player. So Kyler Murray didn't really have the best season last year, but at the same time, I guess you can say the team itself didn't have the best players. But we did see that they drafted Isaiah Simmons 8th overall. They got Kenyon Drake late in the season last year. He was popping off for the Cardinals. And obviously the big one, they got DeAndre Hopkins. In return, they gave away David Johnson. What a steal for the Cardinals. That is the biggest joke trade I've ever seen by a Texans coach. Really, Bill O'Brien? Alright, so obviously the Cardinals offense is looking stacked. It's probably top 5 offense by, I guess you get paper in the league, but we haven't seen it perform yet, so we will. Obviously, they still have Larry Fitzgerald. 2 legendary wide receivers. Kenyon Drake was popping off. No notable tight end, but their defense, Isaiah Simmons, Chandler Jones, Patrick Peterson, so they have good players overall. But they're playing the 49ers. How unfortunate. And it's on the road. They challenged the 49ers last season, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think the 49ers could lose this game. The Cardinals could upset them. I only say this because Deebo Samuel is injured. He had surgeries recovering. So that could be a big factor into this game. But it's in San Francisco. We saw the 49ers defense was just absolutely dominant, which is why I think the 49ers should win this game. So, the Sunday night football game of week 1 is the Dallas Cowboys at the Los Angeles Rams. Many of you think the Cowboys are going to win this game. And for the 20th straight year, you think the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl? Come on, really? Really? It's literally been since 1996, every year since. We're going to win this year. Nope. So, obviously, the Cowboys, by book, you think they're good. But Dak Prescott's actually not good. And he never will be. He will never, ever lead this team to a Super Bowl. And I can swear my life that's true. So the Los Angeles Rams, they have a pretty good offense. Jared Goff, he had his struggles last season, but he's still putting up numbers. Cooper Kupp's pretty good. Gerald Everett, I believe, was a pretty good tight end. And Tyler Higbee. So both of these, I guess you could say, offenses pretty good. I think the Rams are better. They lost Todd Gurley because he just wasn't playing good, so they dropped him. But I think the Rams defense is better. It's in Los Angeles. The Rams are going to win this game. You think that the Cowboys are going to win this game because they beat the Rams last year? You're joking. The Rams beat them the year before in the playoffs. That was, at home. They lost to the Cowboys in Dallas, but this is in Los Angeles. Come on now. Rams should easily win this game. So, they actually do have 2 Monday Night Football games the following day. Pretty interesting. So, the first Monday Night Football game at 7:15 p.m. is the Pittsburgh Steelers against the New York Giants. So, I do believe, I think the Giants have, by book, once again, I keep saying this, but it's true. By book, they have a good offense. But there's one problem with that offense, is the quarterback. Daniel Jones, if you think he's good, you might as well think Dak Prescott's good too, because you're delusional. Daniel Jones will never, ever have a career with the New York Giants. He's not good. He does not have a future. But at the same time, the Giants' offense is stacked. Saquon, Golden Tate's not the best, but whatever. Sterling Shepard, obviously, like, this offense is good. But the Giants' defense is so bad, it's not even funny. Which is why the Steelers should easily win this game. Because the Steelers have the best defense in the NFL. And with Big Ben back and healthy, he should be scoring all over the Giants' defense. Wouldn't be surprised if Pittsburgh won by 40 points. But at the same time, wouldn't be shocked if, Pittsburgh choked. But there are no fans allowed at MetLife week 1. So there's no home field advantage virtually. Steelers should win this game. So the last game of the season, a game that I was actually looking forward to before the schedule came out was the Titans at the Broncos. And I say this because the Broncos were, they were on a roll at the end of the season last year, and so were the Titans. Obviously, the Titans made the playoffs and they made the AFC Championship game. And the Broncos won 4 out of their last 5 games with Drew Lock. And you might consider the Broncos to be a playoff contender. Maybe, maybe not. I do believe both of these teams are going to be good next season. I think the Titans, they have Super Bowl contending talent like Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, AJ Brown. But the Broncos, they drafted KJ Hamler and Jerry Jeudy. So this offense is going to look new. It's going to look really good for the Broncos. They got Melvin Gordon from the Chargers. It's going to be a good game to watch. Can't wait to watch it. I honestly thought the Titans were going to win this game. But after the draft, I think the Broncos should take the W and win against the Titans week 1. So that is all 16 games of week 1. It's going to be a pretty good season. I hope it doesn't get delayed, but at the same time, you got to do what you got to do to be safe. And let's go. So leave a comment down below if you disagree, because you already do disagree. I can already tell you that. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Adios.